すっげースマイル、スイン、シスター、サーティスティン、サプライズ、サーブ、サンジ
There are moments in One Piece that are easily remembered. Like Luffy knocking down 50,000 fishermen using Conqueror's Haki, Zoro's sacrifice in Thriller Bark, Luffy defeating Doflamingo, or Zoro cutting Pika. And the latest would be Luffy defeating Katakuri. But when Sanji came into the conversation, he doesn't get the recognition he deserves, that's what I think. That's why in this video we're gonna talk about the character of Sanji. I wanted to do this content because I feel Sanji's character is a bit underappreciated. Yes, he's famous, but I think most people fail to acknowledge the relevance and how effective his character is in the series. Maybe because of certain comparisons between the Straw Hats. Anyway, we will not gonna focus on who's stronger or more important. Instead, we're gonna appreciate Sanji and the excellence of Oda in writing his character. But before I start, if you're new to One Piece, this contains spoilers, so watch at your own risk. Sanji was introduced in chapter 43 of the manga and episode 20 of the anime. His character design, the slim yet muscular physique and emo hairstyle, is something you will commonly see in a shoujo anime, ignoring the comedic aspect. I think aside from gentleman, Sanji's character is associated to the word cool or chill. Except every time he sees a beautiful lady. His passion is cooking and he loves ladies. Aside from those characteristics, what we only knew back then is he works as a sous chef in Barati, until Luffy recruited him to become their cook. That's what all we knew. When Sanji was a kid, we already saw a glimpse of him being a wise kid. Remember when Sanji and Zeph was trapped somewhere in the middle of the sea? There was this scene where he divides the supplies, so that he could survive for a few days before getting rescued. It's just a very simple scene, but it really emphasizes his potential, or his cleverness, and I think that moment is overlooked. Don't forget his feat in Little Garden, where he poses as Mr. 3 and full crocodile that he killed the Straw Hats. Then when his crewmates were captured by Crocodile and Alabasta, Sanji outwitted the Shichibukai and lured him to go out, and Sanji used this chance to save Luffy and the others. While Sanji possessed a good decision-making and fighting tactics, he's also very perceptive of things. He showed a good deduction capability in Water 7 when Robin was captured by CP9, thinking the train will be the only means of transporting Robin, so he waited at the station. He also repeats this feat when he closed the Gate of Justice in the Enies lobby, giving the Straw Hats a chance to escape. And in Dressrosa, he figured out Law's true objective, telling Law that he's focusing so much on killing Doflamingo to the point that he's forgetting their true plan. Sanji may not have a destructive attacks compared to the other member of Monster Trio, but his cleverness is what makes up for it. He's very good in analyzing situations, and use any advantage or opportunities he found. While Luffy's goal is to become the Pirate King, which requires great strength or power. Zoro's dream is to become the strongest swordsman. Compared to those two, Sanji's goal is a bit different. He never intended to become the strongest. His ultimate goal is to find All Blue, a sea where all the fish from different seas can be found. Despite of that, he still possesses a tremendous strength and endurance in addition to his wit. He is able to fight enemies, they're considered as the third strongest villain in every arc, like Mr. 2 of Baroque Works, and Jabura of CP9. While Luffy relies on his devil fruit, and Zoro uses sword as his weapons, Sanji on the other hand relies solely on his kicking and wit, until he received his very own raid suit which served as his power-up. But prior on getting his raid suit, he still has a lot of feats that are quite impressive. Number 1 is his fight versus Kirby, his first major fight as a Straw Hat, if my memory is correct. Despite facing a fisherman who's a lot more stronger in water. What did Sanji do? He jumped into the water in order to save Luffy, knowing he might end up fighting the fisherman underwater. Now it really put him at a disadvantage, but using his wit, he found a chance by blowing air into the grills of Kirby, which made the fisherman react and go on the land. And after they did, Sanji beat the hell out of him using his kicking techniques. Another battle of Sanji that showcased his sharp mind is his fight versus Mr. 2. Sanji had a hard time dealing with Mr. 2 because aside from Mr. 2 is a great martial artist, his real threat is his ability to turn into someone who he touches. Mr. 2 had the opportunity to copy Nami's appearance when he accidentally met the crew on his way to Alabasta. Sanji being a gentleman, he can't just hit a girl, especially if it's Nami. But his attitude of being calm and collected helped him to find a weakness to Mr. 2's ability. He then exploited this weakness in order to defeat the villain. Now let's talk about Sanji's relationship to his crewmates, and to other important characters. Sanji is not just a thoughtful person, but is also very sincere, probably the second in the Straw Hats, next to Luffy. I mean, they are all nice, but Sanji is the type of guy who doesn't only show concern to the others, but he really tries to understand their feelings and the situation they were in. The example of this is when he feeds the starving Gin, even though the guy caused a commotion in the Baradi. And when Usopp was about to get killed by Jabur in Ennie's lobby, he came and saved Usopp, so cool and so badass. He said he's the hunter to the wolf. Even Zoro, who's his rival, smiled like, now I can focus on my fight. But the best part of this moment is when he talked to Usopp. Usopp was really feeling sorry for not being able to fight Jabur, and Sanji said, I'll do what you can't do. So, you do what I can't. Those words reminded the unconfident Usopp that he is not useless. And one of my favorite Sanji moment, and I think a lot of people forgot, was his sacrifice in Skype. The guy received a massive bolt of lightning from Enel, and Sanji just thanked him, saying he needed a light for his cigarette, and Enel should prepare to cry, before he fell down. He even went out of his way to save the dying Minksitsu, and when Beji arrives, Sanji tried to talk to him privately, so that they wouldn't cause any fear and commotion to the Minks, who just suffered a lot of damage brought by Jack. Lastly, he even saved his family, who was about to get killed by Big Mom Pirates, despite the pain they caused him when he was a child. Sanji has always been trying to save everyone. But when it was his turn to be saved, some bitched and complained. In Whole Cake Island arc, Sanji fought Luffy, and a lot of reaction I've read was if Zoro was there, he wouldn't allow that, or Zoro will fight Sanji. Some hated Sanji for what he did to Luffy, but as what Luffy said, no matter how many times you kick me, you're the one that gets hurt. That's just Luffy being stubborn and knowing that Sanji was not being honest with his decisions. The scene shows us that Sanji's willing to face the consequences of disrespecting his captain, that is to leave the crew, in order to save his loved ones, and that includes his crewmates. So we've talked about his intellect, his strength, and his kindness. Now let's talk about how Oda maximized to use the character of Sanji, not just as a member of the Straw Hats, but also to show how good of a writer he is. So far among the Straw Hats, only Sanji has biological siblings, but also despises them. We saw Nami is close to her adoptive sister, Nichiko, and Luffy loves his symbolic brothers, Ace and Sabo. Sanji's father, Vince McJudge, is a skilled scientist and former research partner of Vegapunk. Sanji has 4 siblings, Reiju, Ichiiji, Niji, and Yonji. Sanji's childhood with his family was miserable. His father is willing to use any means to achieve his goal, that includes genetically modifying his children to become good fighters. His wife opposed the idea and took a drug which resulted for Sanji not acquiring the superhuman abilities. Because of that, Sanji was treated as failure and even wore an iron mask to hide his face. This might seem familiar to you. Do you remember Duval? The lookalike of Sanji. When Duval was introduced, he also wears an iron mask. That time, I think Oda is just teasing us, or foreshadowing events that'll happen 300 plus chapters later on. Another thing is his epithet, Mr. Prince in Alabasta. When used that name before, it was nothing. It was just Sanji trying to be cool, or insulting Crocodile. But after his true identity was revealed, it all makes sense. Now these may seem overthinking or just a coincidence, but if it was really the intent of Oda, he really is not an ordinary author or mangaka. The way he teases us, giving clues, and proving theories wrong is really amazing. So that's pretty much all the details I wanted to share with you. If you think I missed a Sanji moment, please feel free to comment. And if you like my One Piece content, let me know. Peace.